Hey guys, so for those of you who have been following, you'll know that I have recently taken 10 days off, I think it was. I decided, I've been going through some big life changes, and I decided to just take myself away, give myself a little bit of compassion, a little bit of love, a little bit of time to reflect, and as is standard, although big changes are often really painful, when you experience loss or whatever it is, and it doesn't have to be like loss of a human as in death, but loss of a future or a job or something that you identify with. Although it's really, really painful, it can really help you to kind of dig in a little bit and understand a little bit more about yourself. So the last 10 days, 2 weeks, I think, have been really interesting for me to find out a little bit more about myself, which I think we're always doing. But one of the main things that kind of came up for me was this idea that you have expectations. And we're born into this world with no expectation, right? So we come into this world and we are just, for the most part, if you see children up until the age of about 5 where they start going to school, they're joyful, they're happy, they don't really seem to be that stressed for the most part. Then as time goes on, we start to experience like pressures, and these can be external pressures, so expectations when you start going to school, stuff from your parents, society, media, social media, and then eventually they become pressures that you put on yourself. And so if you've seen my post recently, something about people say, oh, I'm finding myself, I'm trying to find myself, and the quote was something like, you're not a $10 bill or £10 note. You can't just, you're not lost, you don't need to be found. What it is uncovering who you were before the world got its hands on you. And I really liked that, because I was like, yeah, because it's not that we're lost. I'm not lost. I don't need to find myself. I'm just rediscovering who I am and who I actually want, without this constant comparison to where I think I should be. And this was the thing that really came up for me in the last 10 days. A lot of the kind of, when you experience painful emotions, that's totally okay. Like being able to just kind of sit and hold those emotions, cry if you need to, shout if you need to, like whatever it is, I think it's really, really important. But what often comes along with that is a lot of dialogue, a lot of kind of chatter that almost reinforces the feeling, and you get in this perpetual loop of, oh, I feel sad, yeah, you should be sad because of this. Oh yeah, I feel more sad. Oh God, yeah, you really should be sad because you should be here, or you should be there, or this should have happened. And you start to realise, well, I started to realise that it becomes an addictive pattern, and it's okay to sit and feel my emotions, but this chatter that was going on didn't feel useful. And the word that kept coming up for me, or the phrase, was like, you should. Like, you should. And then I was like, should. Where's that come from? Why should I be doing anything? What should I be doing right now? And it starts to become something, when you're aware of it, you're like, okay, and that is where a root of a lot of the suffering comes from. When changes happen in your life, or things don't work out how you thought they should. Should is the expectation. And sometimes it's an unrealistic expectation. I'm not saying you shouldn't have expectations or goals or ambitions, but when your goal or ambition or whatever it is starts to become something that you beat yourself up with, that's not great. That doesn't feel nice. And also, when it becomes the thing that when I get this, when I have the job, when I have the promotion, when I have the money, when I meet the perfect person, perfect partner, when I have children, I will feel X. What you start to do is create a really unrealistic expectation that two things: when you don't get it, you've disappointed and you've failed because you should be there, and that doesn't feel nice. And secondly, when you do get that thing that you think is going to fix all your problems and everything's going to be joyful and happy, well, you become disillusioned, because you're like, well, hang on, but I've got the perfect job now, so I should be happy. Oh, okay, well, maybe it's because it's not the right job, so I need to get a different job. And then you get the different job and you're like, oh, but I still feel the same. Okay, it must be the job. And then you start to realise, oh no, hang on, maybe it's not the external thing, maybe it's not the job that's the problem, maybe it's my expectation that this job is going to make me happy. And I'm putting so much power on this job. And the same could be said for relationships, you know. When I meet the perfect partner, it's a bit of this Disney bullshit fairy tale, which unfortunately we got sold a bunch of lies when we were younger, particularly women, I think. Speak for myself, but the bullshit fairy tale. And then when you do meet who you think is the perfect person, and then you're like, oh, why am I not just joyful all the time? And why are things actually difficult? And why do I feel like this? Well, everything should be perfect now because I'm here, I've made it. And you put an unrealistic expectation on a relationship, you put an unrealistic expectation on the other person, which is very unfair, and you're just fucking disappointed. So when you start to and then what you do is you perpetuate the pattern. You're like, well, it must be that person, it's the relationship that's wrong, it's the person. And I'm not saying that it can't be, that could be the problem, but when it's this will make me happy and it's the only thing, that's when it becomes kind of dangerous. You're giving all your power away to a situation, a circumstance beyond your control. And so I've started to kind of think about, and I'll be talking about this a lot in class this week, about rediscovering yourself and the things, the components that make you feel good, the fact that you are whole and complete without the perfect man, woman, job, home, money. You don't need those things to be happy. And it's okay to desire those things and want them as part of your complete package, but to put all of your effort on that, unfortunately, you're going to be perpetually disappointed. And so it kind of becomes clear that it's our expectations that make us feel shitty, essentially. And so when we lose something or something doesn't work out how we expect it to, that's the big disappointment. We've put all of our effort, all of our hopes and dreams on one thing. And it's a bit silly, really, isn't it? If you think about it. I'm not saying it's easy. Clearly it isn't. But when you start to become aware of it, you can start to find this place of coming back to yourself and being like, okay, do I actually want that, for a start? Is that going to make me happy? What should I be doing? And being mindful of when you start to compare yourself to other people. I mean, social media is a bit of a bitch for that. I mean, I mainly use social media now just for work, for this. I don't really use it personally because I found that, and I still do get caught in the trap of like going through and being like, oh, so-and-so's had a baby. Oh, I'm so jealous. I wish that was me. Or you start to project all this bullshit expectation that you probably have anyway on what you see on social media, and you can be like, wow, things are perfect for that person, but you don't know that. And I'm not being funny, but most people, for the most part, won't put all the bad stuff on social media. No one wants to be a negative Nelly, do they? And be like, yes, this terrible thing happened today, and share it on social media. Most people just put the good things up, like the good pictures, when they're looking great, not showing all their wrinkles, like when they're all a little bit airbrushed, and they've maybe brushed their hair. I did actually brush my hair, a little bit. But I think it's just, I guess what the point is that it's being aware of when you're creating unrealistic expectations and realising the amount of pressure that puts on you, and that ultimately when you do that, you're always going to be disappointed because you've always failed, because actually the expectation that you're putting on yourself isn't realistic. You're setting yourself up to fail. It's like saying that you have to be perfect at everything. Perfection doesn't exist, and so when you think you have to be perfect, you're always going to fall short. And so it's finding this kind of balance between desiring and having ambition for something and working towards it, but also being okay with where you are, because that's part of your journey and that's where you are right now, and that's important. And even the really shitty stuff, I mean, maybe I'd have said something different 10 days ago when I was kind of in a pretty shit place, but it's okay, like, to be in a state and to not feel great and to take some time off and to look after yourself. But it's also then important to be like, okay, and now I'm going to get moving again and I'm going to start working towards whatever it is. But it's also okay that if I don't get the job or the relationship or the house or the money, that it's like, okay, well, I'm still working towards it. I'm still taking steps towards it. I haven't just given up. I'm not just sitting in my house waiting for these things to turn up. I'm working towards them. And it might take some more time than I expected, and that's okay. There is no should. I don't have to be anywhere. I don't have to do anything. And so just take the pressure off. Take the pressure off. Realise what the expectations that maybe are putting pressure on you and are making you feel shit. Because let's be honest, like, no one wants to feel shit. It would be nice if we could just be a bit kinder to ourselves, and that's all it really comes down to. So I will probably end up talking about this a lot this week in class. I'm teaching every night at Revitalise because I'm covering for Louise. So there'll be gentle hatha flow, yin tonight, yoga for stress and anxiety tomorrow, hatha flow Wednesday, and then Thursday is strala flow, which is like a little take on vinyasa flow. All of it's the way I teach. For those of you who've been to my classes, you know that it's very much like about moving how you want to, and it's your practice. So you could come along every night, 4 nights in a row, and you're not going to destroy your body. You're not going to be like, oh my god, everything hurts. I mean, unless that's what you really want. But I'll encourage you to just kind of take it as you want, but by practicing every day, and it's something I started doing a few years ago, practicing every day lets you kind of drop in a little bit deeper. So if you find that when you do yoga, you're a bit like, your mind's a little bit, just most people, I think. When you settle down and you do it 4 days in a row or a few days in a row, you start to notice that each time you're able to just like slow down just a little bit more. And obviously it goes up and down, but if you fancy doing that and starting to build a little bit more of a regular practice, this is a good week to do it. So get in touch if you want to come along, and I'll be popping up in Crawley and Cockthorne over the weekend again, as I'm teaching at Core on Sunday, which I'm really excited about. It's a kick-ass community of women predominantly. I think I've only ever met women there, but there are some men that go there. It's an aerial studio, so pole dancing, aerial sling, hoop, silks, all that kind of stuff. It's a wicked group of people, so I'm really pleased to be able to drop in and teach some yoga there. Just a lovely sense of community. So yeah, so come along if you want, pop me a message, and yeah, I hope you enjoy your week. This is your Monday motivation.